I know with this coronavirus, everybody has been worried and concerned and anxious, but let's just shake that off for tonight. Take a little time to enjoy ourselves, work with our hands, be creative, and just refocus, have some fun, and that coronavirus stuff, we can just let it behind us for a little bit. So I know we're in a strange time, but I do also know that God is in control. So just want to say that all that worry and anxiety that we go through really doesn't change anything. It can literally make you sick. So I just encourage you to trust in the Lord and lean on Him and seek Him and give all your concerns to Him. Because He's going to carry us through this, and we're going to come out on the other side being better people, being stronger, and learning a lot. So I just wanted to start it with that. And also, what team are you on? Are you team fat or are you team fit? Because I feel like you're either on one or the other with this quarantine. I'm baking and eating a lot, so I'm team fat. Are you team fit? Who's team fit? Are you? I'm team fat. I have been working out though, because I've been baking a lot, so I'm kind of trying to like even it out a little bit. But just thought I'd ask that. So let's get started. Now there's different reasons why you would want to make a garland, either just for your own home. You can use it as a backdrop for an event, a birthday party. You can put it behind a cake table for a baby shower. You could also make one to send to somebody. This is a perfect time to drop a little gift in the mail for someone to just brighten their day. So I have different varieties. Now this one is it's tied to the twine a little bit different. You just literally make a knot and tie it over the twine or your rope. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. But just, you can make a fun one maybe for a little girl's room. You can make them for bridal showers, that kind of thing. I kind of made this one a little bit, I've never made one like this before. I typically make them with the lace. Can you guys see this? This is all lace. This is drop cloth fabric, and I dyed it, and I can tell you more about how to do that. But first I want to go over some of the items you may be using to make your garland. So since we've been quarantined, we're kind of purging, organizing, going through all the things we have. So hopefully you can find some old fabric. I like to use lace curtains that I got at the thrift store. And I know right now you can't go thrifting, but once we're allowed to go back out and shop, look for lace curtains at the thrift store. They make great, kind of like shabby chic garland, like that one down there. So I use, these are curtains, lace tablecloths, just some fabric I had laying around. You can use curtains, you can use sheets, drop cloth fabric, clothing. I'm going to show you in a little bit. I have some old jeans, I have a dress, and I have a white, it's just a t-shirt. You can use any of this kind of stuff that you have laying around that you don't want anymore. And this one's going to be like for 4th of July. I'm going to make a red, white, and blue one. You can put it outside or hang it on your mantle, whatever. So you're also going to need some sort of twine or ribbon. You can use ribbon to hang it on. I have this is called bunting. I found this at the thrift store. You can buy this at the craft store. This is really sturdy. It can really hold. It's easy to tie. Let's see, what else can you use? You can use any kind of yarn to make your garland, as long as it's strong and it's not going to break. You may have to like triple this up. You could braid it and then it'll be strong enough to hold your fabric. so if you're going to use drop cloth, which I did this time, I dyed it. I can give you information on dye. I used RIT dye to make this gray color. I used graphite. This is just a frost gray and then a black. And so it gives you the different colors, you know, it's kind of like an ombre color almost. So let me show you, if you're going to use drop cloth, because I don't know if you know how to cut drop cloth to make strips. So this was just one we got. You can get these in all kinds of sizes. Make sure if you're going to use this that you get the cloth drop cloth and not, it's canvas. It's not that plasticky stuff. It's the fabric. You can get these for like $9.95. It goes a long way. Like this is a big one. I could make so many garlands out of this. But I just wanted to show you how to cut it because I have a little trick that makes it pretty simple. Because it's kind of overwhelming when you have this huge piece of fabric. It's like, where do I start? But what you're going to do, I'll bring it over. You're going to start at the seam. There's a seam here. And you're just going to cut a slit. However thick you want your strip. Cut a slit. And then you're literally just going to rip it. And it's going to rip evenly the whole way down, just because of the way it's made. And then you just cut the end off. And I left my ends on when I dyed my fabric. I cut my strips ahead of time before I dye them, only because I thought it would be easier to put it in the pot of water. So you have to put the RIT dye in a big pot on the stove and mix the dye in there. So it's just easier to put strips in than it is to put this huge piece of fabric. So I cut a lot of strips, and then I decided how many I wanted in each color. And then I put them in the dye, and then I hung them outside on the deck to dry for a while.
Does it stain your pot? The dye?
You have to use a stainless steel pot.
Okay.
And then it won't. It comes right out when you wash it. So
and then you rinse it in between, obviously.
Yeah. So when you're done with the color, however deep you want your color, if you don't want it too deep, you take them out right away, and then you run water through it until the water runs clear. I did forget to mention, you should always wash all your fabric before you start this process. So with the drop cloth, I did put this full piece in my washer. I washed it and dried it, and it makes it a lot softer, and then it won't shrink up, you know, when you're going to heat it up on the stove with your dye. And then from there, you would decide how long you want your strips. So first you have to kind of think what look you want for your garland. Do you want a playful look like this one? More maybe for a kid's room, a girl's room, you know, over the crib or whatever. Do you want a shabby chic look? You just have to decide like what theme you kind of want and choose your fabric from there. It's fun to mix and match. Like if you have sheets that are printed, those are perfect because you can do a whole bunch of different prints. You can do floral and stripes. So that's that. So I'm going to show you now how to, there's different ways to knot your fabric on the garland, and it just gives a little bit of a different look. So I know you probably can't really see this that great, but these are literally just tied on here. It's just a knot. I just knot each of these little strips of fabric onto this string. Now, when I show you how to do the other ones, they kind of hang longer. This is kind of, just gives you a different look depending on how you knot it. So that's kind of cute too. You can use colorful fabric to go with your decor. So let me get some strips.
Pam, I may have missed it. That one was just on ribbon, right?
Yes, this is just on this. This is called bunting, but you can use anything you have. If you have twine, yarn, string, jute. I ran out of my jute. I usually use that, but I had this to use. So here, I'll show you. I'll take one of these off and show you how to tie it, just so you can see it. And so you're going to want to either hang, I don't know if you put nails in your mantle, like I put nails everywhere. So I literally just put 2 nails and strung my string and worked from there. Because I think it would be hard to lay it on the table and tie it. So tie it to a doorknob or anything you can find so that you can work well, and you can have both hands and you're not trying to hold the string. So this one is literally just tie a knot around the string and then pull it. And then you can push them together. So you just keep going that for as long as you want your garland to be and as full as you want it. You can cut your fabric a little bit thicker and it gives a little more of a full look to it. And I did that with the lace ones, and I can show you that. In between, I went back and in between some of them, I cut it a little thicker just to give me a little more volume. You could double up on your strips if you want your strips of fabric.
Pam, how many different types are on that one that you just did?
This one has 3 different types. So what I have on this one is, this was an old lace curtain, and I just cut it into strips. Then I have an old piece of fabric, pink and white, and then this floral fabric. So it's kind of fun to mix those colors. Makes it nice and bright. Okay, I'm going to show you, can you tie that? How to tie them on. Because there's a couple different ways. So it depends on the look you want. Now, if you want a knot in the front where you can see the knot, then you're going to take your strip, and again, however long you want it. You could always trim it after if you wanted it to all be even. I'm not an even kind of person. I like things to kind of just be, I don't know, natural and not so even. So you take your strip, you're going to fold it in half, and then you're going to put it around the twine or whatever you're using and pull your 2 ends through the circle there, through the hole. And then you're going to pull it nice and tight. And that gives you, can you see that? That gives you the knot showing on the front side. And I'll show you one on the back side. If you want to see, if you don't really want to see the knot, you'll do the same thing, fold your fabric in half, but you bring it around from the back side and do the same thing. Then the knot is on this side and you can't really see it. It just gives, it's a different look when you have them all lined up. Let me do one more. So you have your strip, and you don't really have to be that accurate in cutting them. If you have one of those rotary cutters, that would be really handy. I don't have one. I have this little pair of scissors, but I don't really mind. If you're one of those people that you like things very neat and structured, you're gonna have to take your time and really cut it even. If you see some of that is not cut very even. It's kind of rough on the edges, but that doesn't really bother me. But if you want it to be nice and neat, then you're gonna have to take your time and maybe use a rotary cutter to get them all exactly. And another thing is, they may not all line up exactly on the bottom because of the way you knot it. Sometimes you might pull this tighter on this one than you do on this one. So it could be a little longer or shorter. So you'll just have to go back and trim, or if you like it like that, I kind of like how it gives it dimension. This one's a little too short, but I don't like it being so even. I like some to be a little longer. So you just have to decide what you like and go from there.
Pam, about how much do you lose lengthwise with the knot? Like how many inches does that take up?
Probably, I would say 1.5 to 2 inches, maybe 1.5 inches.
Okay.
And so that makes me think of when you're going to cut your yarn or twine, always cut way extra than what you want your garland to be for hanging purposes. And I like to do them a little extra because you never know where you might, maybe you're not like me, but I would travel around with this and hang it up. Like if you're going to go to a park and you want to set it up on the pavilion or whatever, you want to have enough to be able to tie it from different areas. So it's better to be longer than shorter. You know, you can always snip it off if you need to. Or you can just let the ends kind of hang down when you tie it up. So I want to bring this one over to show you how the knots look. Thanks. I want to show you how the knots look on this one up close. This one I folded so that the knots show in the front. You see how they're all lined up? And that's from bringing it around from the front. I took my strip around the front. If I went around the back, it makes the knot go into the back, which is what I did on this one. This one, all the knots are in the back. You can't really see them. But, you can add as many or as little as you want. If you don't want it as full, you can split them up. You can pull them apart. And you can have like chunks of your fabric hanging. So it kind of looks more like a tassel almost if you push them all together and leave space. Or you can use, you can pull them apart. You don't have to make them as tight. I think the tighter they are, they look better because then there's not anything showing from behind. You don't see any of this wall from behind because it's so full. So let's see, what else do I have to show you? I wanted to talk to you about the RIT dye. Did you ever dye fabric with that RIT dye? Yeah, you just have to, you should wear gloves because it stains everything. Like I use black and it really stains. So be careful when you're using that. And these are only like, Jamie, how much were these? Is she still there? They were like $2.50, $2 something for a bottle of this. And it dyes. I dyed all my fabric and I have extra. So it's pretty reasonable. So you could get the drop cloth for like $10 and get a couple of different colors of dye, and you're under $20 to do a whole garland.
I think they were like $2.99, but they're actually pretty big bottles.
Yeah, this is a pretty big bottle. It's really good, strong dye. It doesn't take long to dye. And as soon as I dipped that drop cloth in, it was black right away. I did put this color. I did put this one back in a little because I wanted there to be a pretty good difference so you can see the gray from the black. And you could even mix in mix the black and the gray. There's this lighter gray. That looks blue, but it's really gray. And then the cream. You could just mix them all together and not put all the black first and then all the gray. If you mixed in the cream, that would give a whole different look too. So that's pretty neat. Do you have any questions? How much time do we have? Jamie, how much more time do we have?
Another 5-10 minutes.
Okay. Do you want me to show you how to knot it again, or do you think you can get, yeah? Okay.
Saying yeah.
Okay, so take your strip, fold it in half, and then I'm going to do the knot to show on the front. So I go around from the front and reach through the hole and pull it. And then you have to kind of pull it taut. You may have to fix up your knot a little. And then squish them together if you want them all close together. Like I thought it'd be cool to do like red, white, and then a whole bunch of blue for 4th of July. So let's do it again, because I know it took me a little bit to figure out which way I wanted to go. The first one I made, I didn't realize how I was knotting it, and they were all different. It's not a big deal, but it does show up, and I just think it's nice when they all line up and are neat. So go, just fold it around and reach through and grab your ends, and then pull it. I'll do one more. I'll go from the back this time. Then you can see that you just push your, can you see that or is it hard to see? Yeah. And then that one's knotted in the back. So that's really all there is to it. It's just a matter of what look do you want? You know, what fabric do you want to use? How long do you want it? Do you want them all even? Do you want them sporadic? You know. So that's it. Pretty simple.
Pam, tell us about burlap. I know there's a trick to cutting that too, something with a string.
Yeah, so burlap, I don't actually have any, but yeah, if you can cut at the top, you cut the string and then you just pull it and it'll rip. It's the way that the strings are all intertwined, they're like woven, but if you pull that string out, then you're able to, it's not going to fray all over.
Does it eventually fray anyway? Or
a lot of times burlap does. It's kind of a messy kind of product to work with. But you could buy burlap ribbon. They have that is sewn at the edges, you know. Mm-hmm. You would just have to cut your length of ribbon and then it wouldn't fray all over.
Have you ever tried, I saw someone on Pinterest put like Mod Podge on the edges after they cut it. Have you ever tried?
I've seen that because that dries clear. You could do glue, clear glue works for that. They have that Fabri-Tac stuff that you can just put on the end. I bet you could put like clear nail polish on.
Yeah.
You know, it would get a little hard on the ends, but I don't think anybody's going to notice that.
Right.
So burlap is nice too. It gives a good texture to your garland.
And they have all kinds of colors of burlap too.
They do. They have, some with prints on them. You know, that would be nice. There's a lot of different options. So you just have to decide, do you want it? You could use all ribbon if you wanted to just use. I have this ribbon left over from Ashley's wedding. you could just string a whole bunch of ribbon the same way. You would fold it and then do it the same way. It would be just thinner strips, but it would be cool. You could put beads on them if you wanted to. I know one company that makes garland, fabric garlands. She always she stamps her name on it, and she puts one gold bead on one strip. Just, that's kind of her signature thing. But you could put beads on there. You could do it with just yarn if you didn't have ribbon, different colors of yarn. So there's lots of options. And I'm sure, you know, you have things in your house that you can cut up. Just don't go cutting up your husband's shirts. I went in our closet and I was looking around like, oh. You'd have to ask permission before you cut. But yeah, I think it's fun. And it's something you can do while you're watching a lot of TV lately. I don't know, I've been watching more TV than ever, but while you're sitting, you can cut all your strips and everything.
It's awesome.
That's fun.
Krista, do you or Ashley have any questions?
So do you have to boil only if you're going to dye something?
Yes. Only if you're going to use fabric that you want to dye. I just thought, I really like the look of I took it down, the drop cloth fabric. It works so nice to rip, and then I wanted to have different colors. So that's the only reason I dyed it, is because I wanted, you could just use it the natural color, but I wanted to see what it would look like dyed, and really took the dye really nice. So you don't have to dye any other fabric, just if you wanted.
How much dye did you have to put in?
So it says, where did I put it? It tells you on the bottle, but I don't follow directions, so I was just poured some. So you have to do 2 gallons or 3 gallons of water, it called for, but my pots aren't that big, so I had to cut it in half. And then, so I cut the recipe in half. It tells you on the bottle. But if it's black, I wanted them a little darker, a little more black, it tells you. But really easy. I remember I used to use grit dye all the time, all her fabrics, and it's really nice. You don't want to get it on anything that you don't want to drip it anywhere. So try to wear, full clothes or an apron, whatever. Pretty cheap for the bang of your buck, I think. It really works. You don't need that much, so you have to do like an ombre, like purple and lavender, and have the color go from dark. You just would use less dye. So that's all that is.
I have a dumb question. If you did your knots and you decided you wanted the other way, can you just turn your ribbon around, or does it really make
you could
okay
you could, and it depends on how your fabric is hanging also, if your fabric is printed on both sides or not. Like this, see the jean material it's dark on this side and light on this side. That's the only thing that would be a little bit different, is how it's hanging. But you could just turn it around.
Okay.
Just whatever look you want. If you don't want them to match up, you just do it however you want. You could tie it, there's another way you could tie it too that I've done. If you want to just tie it at the top, and it kind of gives you like a little, I don't even know what you want to call it. It just like flops there. But when they're all done, pardon?
A little tail.
A little tail. It kind of looks cool when they're all done. So you could do it like that. That's kind of neat. There's lots of different options you get different looks from just however you tie it. And how fat you cut your fabric. If you cut it thicker, it's much more full, like this, like these lace ones. Some of these I cut like pretty thick. Some are smaller, just to give it some depth.
That's awesome. Well, Pam, thank you so much. We really appreciate you sharing. I will post, I have Pam's supplies list. I will post that again. And I have some pictures from Pinterest that I saved that show some different patterns and fabrics. So I'll post those with the recording as well. So thanks again, everyone, for joining us. And thank you, Pam. We really appreciate you.
You're welcome.
Have a good night.
You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.